Dear viewers, welcome to the channel Rajvi Islamic Message. Thank you very much for listening. The message that we are continuously pursuing since the last number of videos is that uh, an approach relates to an approach which, if adopted, can lead a person in believing in the oneness of God Almighty. The God Almighty is there, He is one, and He has all the attributes and qualities which beyond human conception, in fact. And He's the one who's created us, He's supporting our life, He's sustaining our life. And thus, to believe in Him is the first demand of the justice, in fact. Now, this is the subject that we have been pursuing since last number of videos. And today, the topic that we are going to take up relates to the religion of Buddhism. And we are trying to bring out the fact that all the major religions, in fact, in their original foundations, were based upon the belief in oneness of God. It was, however, later on that there was a change in the belief and practice, and which completely uh, defamed them and de-shaped them, in fact. And that you see now, they are all doing they are believing in the polytheism, and that means they're not believing in one God, but believing in number of gods, and they are all resorted to the idol worship. So about the Buddhism, before I start to talk about the belief of Buddhism, let me say a few words about the founder of this religion, that is the Lord Buddha. Now, about the Lord Buddha, it is said that historically, of course, it is about him that he was born in the area now in the district of Kapilvastu in Nepal. And then, of course, his effort that he carried out mainly was done in the vicinity of the district of Bihar in India and all those regions. Now, there are who was Lord Buddha and what he preached. See, before we come to that, let me tell you that there are two versions about him, and as to how he changed his view and resorted to the extreme contemplation and meditation based life, and he left his palace and went to the jungle. About him, it is said that he was a almost lived a princely life, very lavish life, because he was the son of a small king, and there he then when he became young and he was about 28 years of age, it was then that uh, he left his palace. Now, why he left his palace, there is a version about this. They said that once he, along with his servant, went out and he met the people, which created different views in his mind and heart. Firstly, he met a man who was very old and almost helpless, couldn't even walk. And so, by looking at him, he developed a very sad view of the life, and that one day I am also going to get old and be as helpless as this man is. Then he went forward and met another person who was sick, and this again created a sad feeling in him that this is part of the human life, that I will also fall sick one day, and so I had to suffer like this man is. Then, as he moved forward, he saw a funeral procession. They were carrying a dead body and bringing him to the graveyard for burial. So, this again created a very painful feeling in his heart, which he concluded that I am also going to die one day and be buried under the soil. So, with these impressions of life, he returned back to his palace and then started to deep thinkly about these things, and eventually decided to leave the palace and to go out. And in that process, he met a person who was a very enlightened man. His face was glittering with light of spiritual enlightenment, and he was the one whose face gave us feeling of complete satisfaction about the life. You see, about the complete satisfaction, and you can say that with tranquility of life. So he decided that yes, this is the man whose life is worth following, and so he became his pupil, and later on he himself started to do the meditation and underwent tremendous hardships. You see, almost self-denial over a long period. He became very thin. We did eat for days together, and initially there were few pupils that joined him. Eventually, he went all alone. And a stage came when he declared that yes, he has now got the vision of God Almighty. Now, this proves that he believed in God Almighty, and his all effort was in pursuit of the recognition of his authority and in his heart and soul, and to have the close relation with him. And this is what he eventually achieved and declared about him. Now, this is one version about Buddha. And second version, which is of course supported by the scholars of the Islamic religion, is that he was actually a prophet of God, and thus he preached the oneness of God and the teachings of God Almighty as revealed upon him, and which started with the belief in one God. It is said that in Quran there is a mention of the where there's mention of number of prophets. Within that verse, there is a mention of one person coming from Zil Kifl. Zil Kifl means the man of the Kifl, coming from the Kifl. Now, in Arabic, for F, for P actually, there is F. There is no P in Arabic. So actually, it was Kifl, which was changed into Kifl in Arabic, and that was what was mentioned in Quran. So therefore, it is said that it is that prophet whose name is mentioned in the Quran, and when this is so, then it goes without saying that he was a strong believer in one God, and that's why he preached about the oneness of God to the humanity. So this again proves that even in the Buddhist religion, the basis and foundation of this was upon the worship of one God. Of course, the shape in which you find this religion now is absolutely different. Now here you have the monasteries in which the monks live and they dedicate their life to the religion. They do not do any worldly activity, and they go ask the people for their living. And when they come back to their monastery every day, and they start to do the worship of Buddha. So in the Buddhist religion, it is now the worship of Buddha that is done instead of worship of the god of Buddha. So that is a change, like the change in the Hinduism, similar change occurred in the religion of Buddhism. But as I mentioned, that this religion also was essentially based upon the belief and worship of one God, God Almighty, the Creator, the Sustainer. So therefore, I end at that to bring this point to your knowledge and deep understanding that all major religions were essentially based upon the belief in oneness of God, like other religions that we'll be talking about later on. So therefore, the one thing we must, the atheists, I will request them to do one thing at least, that is leave the atheism and start believing in one God. Now, what he wants from them now, of course, we'll continue to discuss that in the in the videos which we'll conducting later on. Thank you very much for listening.